Welcome back to the May edition of the Library Roadshow. We love to talk with authors on the Library Roadshow, and on each new edition of this program, we try to profile someone new for you. Today, I'm delighted to chat with a good friend of the library, local poet Ava Leavell Haymon. Ava, tell us about your most recent work.
My most recent collection of poetry is titled Why the House is Made of Gingerbread. And it's a collection of poems. It works rather like jazz. It concerns the events and the characters in the fairy tale Why the House is Made of Gingerbread. My collection that will be out in the fall is titled Eldest Daughter. It's a collection of poems that are all about my father, which was a complicated relationship because he was not only my father, but he was also a Southern Baptist minister. And the third section out of 4 is a fairy tale. So I wrote that fairy tale from scratch, but it's very much in the format and style of the fairy tales that we all know. So I seem to be in fairy tale land these days.
Ava, why do you choose poetry as your medium? What can poetry do that regular prose cannot?
I write poetry, I think, more often than I write prose, because I like to take the world in very tiny steps. The world or life in general has always seemed very overwhelming to me because I have very sensitive, sensory antenna out in the world, it seems, and poetry allows you to just go one little tiny baby step at a time instead of rushing along as you do in prose where you have to take in more.
You're also very well known as a teacher of poetry. Is there a secret you can share to help unlock our inner poet?
I'm asked often, can you really teach poetry? And I'm asked that because I have been teaching poetry for some 35 or 40 years now to people of all ages, and of course I believe poetry can be taught. I do think the students that come to a poetry writing teacher are self-selected, but what I find they are self-selected, what they select themselves for is not that mysterious thing, talent, but what they select themselves for is that they have something to say that they can't say. They have a great secret, or they have a burning vision, or they have an idea that they can't put into words. Poetry allows you to put it into words because there's a great deal of craft there, and it allows you to say the thing you're afraid to say because it presents to you a container. Andrei Kudresky said to me one time, poems are tough. Poems can hold anything.
Ava, what does it take and how does it feel to be a finalist for Poet Laureate for the state of Louisiana?
I'm very honored to be one of the 3 finalists for this wonderful honor. I was one of the 3 finalists last time, 2.5 years ago, and so if this happens again, I'm going to feel like thrice a bridesmaid, never a bride. In any case, this is a great thrill. Nominations can come from anybody and everybody. Those nominations go to a very serious committee. I was on the committee one time in the past, so I know how hard this committee works. It's a committee of peers. It's people who teach poetry writing in the universities of the state. The last 2 poet laureates and some before that, Darrell Bork and Julie Kane, the most recent, the one who's still poet laureate now, they did an enormous amount of work. They went to schools, they went to small towns, they went to libraries, they traveled all over the state doing readings and being a kind of emissary for poetry. And especially in the schools, I think that's so very important. And I think even more especially now since Katrina, with the schools in South Louisiana being even more crowded and in New Orleans even more stressed.
Thanks so much, Ava. You can find out when Ava and other writers will be at your local library by checking out the events calendar at ebrpl.com.
Hello out there in TV land. It's May, and you know what that means? Mother's Day. We have a craft that you will love to pieces. A cute Mother's Day card. Nothing makes your Mother's Day brighter than receiving a card made by her baby's hands.
Well, let's get our mommy love on.
That's right. For this craft, you will need a Sharpie or some other markers, some construction paper, colored paper, or cardstock, at least 2 or 3 different colors. You can use some crayons and a glue stick, and surprisingly today, no googly eyes. First, let's grab a sheet of the paper of your choosing. We used a nice heavy little cardstock today. It's hot pink for the hot moms. Turn the sheet in the landscape orientation, not portrait, and then you're going to fold it in half. Then you're going to turn the paper again and fold it again. Grab you a marker and write on that front cover, write the letters M-O-M for mom, right there on the front cover. Then you're going to open up the inside and write I love you on the left side, and on the right, draw a cute little heart, and underneath write 2 pieces. Then set your card aside. Next, you're going to grab your other sheets of paper and begin tearing them. Make sure to remove all the straight sides and the blunt edges. You want the pieces to have that rustic vintage look. Once your pieces are all torn, you can begin gluing them to the card. We scattered lots of pieces throughout, and make sure to put lots of pieces on the heart. And this craft ends happily ever after.
Thanks, ladies. Nothing sells fun like confetti. The Library Roadshow will be back in a moment. And coming up after the break, a spotlight of just a few of our community events on the community calendar. And then we'll get to page turners. Stay right there.